Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
O'Reilly.
Did you know 1 in 4 car batteries is weak and needs to be replaced? O'Reilly Auto Parts will test your battery for free. If your battery needs to be replaced, our professional parts people can help you find the right Super Start battery for your vehicle and budget. Don't wait. Get your battery tested for free today at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Beaches Jewelry and Pawn is ready to help. If you need extra cash or a quick loan, Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash in hand. They also love to buy items of value. They need gold, silver coins, and flatware, jewelry, guitars, and of course, guns.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. The sports world keeps spinning, and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Wednesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us as we have reached the middle part of the week. We are now 24 hours away from the NBA Finals beginning. Game 1 between Miami and Denver tomorrow night. The Stanley Cup Finals on Saturday. The Florida Panthers and the Las Vegas Golden Knights, as the city of Miami in the South Florida area looks to become the first metropolitan area, I believe, ever to have an NHL champion and an NBA champion in the same sports calendar year. With that as a backdrop, we'll go down to Miami in the 9 o'clock hour. Kevin Rogers, WQAM Radio in Miami, to kind of get the lay of the land in South Florida, as 2 of their teams in the major 4 sports are competing for league championships beginning tomorrow night with the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets. Coming up in hour number 1, Sean Devaney, Heavy.com, will break down the NBA Finals. I also want to talk to Sean about LeBron James. I haven't talked to Sean, who's covered the league for many years, since LeBron made his comments after they lost the Western Conference Finals, saying contemplating retirement. Really? Well, there's probably 100 million reasons he's not going to retire, which I believe is what's left on his contract in L.A. But we'll talk a little LeBron James, certainly talk a little NBA Finals with Sean Devaney, also Mark Long of the Associated Press, as we'll take a look at week 2 of OTAs for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Speaking of the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's where we will begin tonight, because every night on Hacker After Dark, we kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
You know, if you listen to this show or you listen to pretty much any show on 1010XL, whether it's us, the hosts, or any guests that we have on that cover the National Football League, there is not one that I have heard that are not picking the Jacksonville Jaguars to not win the AFC South, rather. Everybody's picking them to win the AFC South, and everybody is picking Jacksonville to go in that 10-7, 11-6, 12-5 range and be maybe the 3 or 4 seed in the AFC playoffs. That is what everybody believes. And because tomorrow is June 1st, and tomorrow is kind of one of those days where you take a deep breath and you're like, all right, wow, training camp officially begins next month once you reach June 1st. Sounds funny to say, but tomorrow we can say training camp for the Jaguars begins next month, because it'll begin obviously towards the tail end of July. I thought I would do a what-if scenario, right? There is a lot of pressure on the Jaguars coming into 2023. A lot of expectations, are there not? I mean, again, everybody's picking them to win the division. I've gone on record to say if they don't win the division, it's a failure of a season, and I believe that. That's not just radio shtick. I think it is a failure if they don't win the AFC South. You look at the talent they have compared to the other teams in the South, Houston, Indy, Tennessee. To me, it would be a failure, not a disappointment, a failure if they don't win the division. And I'm sure a lot of you believe that as well, right? A lot of Jaguar fans, the ones I've talked to, most of you, I would imagine, listening right now, say, yeah, if they don't win the division, it's a failure. A lot of pressure for a young football team that's never really had pressure, right? I mean, think about the main guys on this team. Think about the guys that are going to take Jacksonville to the promised land on this team. Trayvon Walker is 22 years old, number 1 pick in the 2022 draft, 22 years old. Tyson Campbell, the number 1 corner on this team, 23 years old. Andre Cisco, your starting safety, 23 years old. You go up down the line, Trevor Lawrence, obviously the main guy, the guy on this roster. Trevor Lawrence is 23 years old. Chad Muma, 23 years old. It's a very young roster. Travis Etienne's 24. He's one of the elder statesmen. Walker Little, Devin Lloyd, they're both 24 years old. It's just amazing. Josh Allen, 25. If you look at the 90 guys on the roster right now, 90, here are the guys that are 30 plus. Adam Gotsis is 30. Darius Williams is 30. Newly acquired kicker Brandon McManus is 31. Brandon Sheriff is 31. Tyler Shatley is 32. Josh Wells is 32. And that's it. Everybody else is in their 20s. And the reason I bring it up is none of these guys, with the exception of Cam Robinson, Tyler Shatley, and if he re-signs DeJuan Smoot, but he's not here right now, so he wouldn't apply. Other than Robinson or Shatley, none of these guys have had any expectations in the NFL as far as a winning team expected to win a division coming into a season. Now, Robinson and Shatley did have that in 2018, coming off the AFC title appearance in 17, and the Jaguars completely fell on their face. Granted, that was Blake Bortles. Now it's Trevor Lawrence. But there's a responsibility, right? I mean, you cannot have a conversation on ESPN, on NFL Network, any NFL podcast, certainly here in Jacksonville, right here on 1010XL, without saying the Jaguars are going to win the division. The Jaguars have a clear path to a top seed in the playoffs. There's MVP talk surrounding Trevor Lawrence. Do the Jaguars have a top 5 wide receiver trio in Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Calvin Ridley? Well, think about that for a second. It was a year ago that some of you, the loyal Jaguar fans, were mad the Jaguars paid that much money to Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. And Calvin Ridley was suspended last year. Now, all of a sudden, June 1st, 2023 is tomorrow. Based on what Kirk and Jones did last season, now all of a sudden, do the Jaguars have one of the best trios in the NFL? This time last year, Travis Etienne had never carried the football in an NFL regular season game. Ever. Just 12 months ago. Now you talk to people, and he's a top 10 NFL running back based on what he did last year. This time last year, Trevor Lawrence was 12 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. That drastically changed with Doug Peterson. My point is this, right? I have very high expectations for the Jaguars. You have very high expectations for the Jaguars. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to win the division. I think they should win the division. And I think this is probably a 11 or 12 win football team in 2023. But what if it's not? What if injuries pile up? What if people regress? What if there are setbacks? Have you kind of mentally prepared for that? Haven't we been programmed in Jacksonville, media and fans alike, to expect the worst case scenario? I can't tell you how many times during that winning streak last year I knew the Jaguars weren't going to win, because the Jaguars never win games like the Dallas game here. The Jaguars never win games like the Tennessee game here. And of course, the Jaguars never win games, because no NFL team wins games, like the Chargers game here. But yet, good luck, good fortune, a Josh Dobbs fumble, a Dak Prescott interception, the Charger coaching staff going just haywire in the second half, Doug Peterson out coaching his colleagues in the league. Good things started happening. So now you got to change your mindset a little bit. That's why, to me, now everybody, including myself, thinks the expectation and the assumption is the Jaguars are going to be very good this year. We've kind of gotten out of woe is me. We've gotten out of worst case scenarios. We've gotten out of, well, it's the Jaguars, so something bad is going to happen. We're in a good place right now. But it could come back very, very quickly. I bring this up with almost every guest that I have on. You know how quickly things change in the NFL? And I do mean quickly. Last year, the first Sunday in December, the Jaguars were 4-8, coming off an absolute trouncing from the Detroit Lions. We're talking not even 6 months ago. The Jaguars were 4-8 and were going nowhere. But then all of a sudden, they start getting the bounces. Then all of a sudden, things start opening up. The skies part. The cloudiness goes away. And 4-8 becomes 10-8, and all is right with the world. Keep in mind, this was a 10-9 football team last year. 10-9. And if you look at that 6-game winning streak, one of those wins came against Zach Wilson in New York. One of those wins came against Davis Mills in Houston. And one of those wins came against Josh Dobbs in the AFC South Championship game. A quarterback that was in Nashville for 12 days prior to that game. But unlike years past where the Jaguars found ways to lose, last year they found ways to win. And you tend to forget they were 4-8. You focus more on the end of the year, that 6-game winning streak. Again, I think the Jaguars are going to be very good. I think they're a division champion. I think they're going to be a serious contender for a very high seed in the AFC playoff. The one thing I would caution you on, though, is it's not like they're coming off a 14-3 campaign. It's not like they're coming off a 12-5 campaign. I thought Ballou made a good point earlier. They need to win games they're supposed to win. They started doing that at the end of last year. But think about the games they lost last year. They lost a home game to the Houston Texans. They lost in London to the lowly Denver Broncos. Inexcusably lost a game to Matt Ryan and Alec Pierce at Indianapolis. They had some awful, awful losses in the beginning and middle part of last season. But with good coaching, with more experience, those things seem to go away once you got into December and once you got into January. And that's the hope, right? Who are the Jaguars? Are the Jaguars the team that started 4-8 last year? Or are the Jaguars the team that won 6 in a row to catch and eventually pass the Tennessee Titans and win the AFC South? I think they're more the latter than the former. To me, it matters a lot more how you end a season as opposed to how you start a season. Because the Jaguars did not start last year very well. But they sure ended it on a very, very high mark, which is why all the expectations have come with them into 2023. But again, with expectations comes pressure. This is a very young football team. All the key players on this football team are under the age of 30, with the exception of Brandon Sheriff, Brandon McManus. Throw Adam Gotsis and Tyler Shatley in there, I suppose. Everybody else is still in their 20s. There is not a lot of veterans that have been through this in the NFL. And what is this? Expectation. Every year coming in, the Jaguars are predicted to finish last. Predicted to draft in the top 5. No one cares about Jacksonville. Nobody pays any attention to Jacksonville. Jacksonville is irrelevant. Well, not now. 5 of the 17 Jaguar games stand alone. 3 primetime games and the 2 games in London. 5 of your 17 games, you're the only game in town. That's respect. Trevor Lawrence, absolutely, is getting national respect. This Jaguar team, predicted by every media outlet out there to win the division, that is getting respect. No more under the radar. No more we're going to sneak up on people this year. No, now it's you have to accept those expectations, and now you have to prove that you were worthy of those expectations. Because anything less, to me, than a division championship, if you don't win the AFC South, A, something went horribly wrong, and B, it's a failure of a season. 641-1010 on the phone line and on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Just a quick yes or no. Agree or disagree? Jaguar fans, hit me up on the text line. Simple question. We might put it out on Twitter as well. If the Jaguars are not AFC South champions in 2023, regardless if they make a wild card spot or not, and I can't imagine 2 teams out of the AFC South going to the playoffs, but I'll even put that caveat in there. But if the Jaguars do not win the South, and for some reason that I can't imagine humanly possible right now, Tennessee or Indianapolis, or dare I even say Houston, finds a way to win this division, is it a failure of a season? And if it is, that is a lot of pressure on a very, very young football team. More on the Jaguars coming up in about half an hour, a little less. Mark Long of the Associated Press. He was down at Jaguar OTAs earlier this week. We'll talk expectations, Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, and the Jaguars heading into the month of June. 2 more weeks of OTAs, then a veteran minicamp, and that's it. They will start training camp at the end of July. Tomorrow night, Sports World goes to the National Basketball Association. Game 1 of the NBA Finals, the Miami Heat, the Denver Nuggets. How did we get here? Miami and Denver tomorrow night. And let's talk a little LeBron James. We didn't talk a lot about this last week. There was a lot going on. LeBron hinted at retirement when the Lakers were swept by Denver in the Western Conference Finals. He said he had to take time to think about it. I cannot imagine a scenario where LeBron doesn't play next year, but he said it. We'll ask Sean Devaney, Heavy.com. He's covered the NBA for many years. He's our NBA guy here on Hacker After Dark. With Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you, a Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark, Jacksonville, Florida. We are glad you are with us. Let's talk NBA Finals, LeBron James, and more. Sean Devaney, Heavy.com, next on Hacker After Dark.
Okay, stop. This is a family movie.
Sports talk and entertainment for Jacksonville. This is 1010XL.
Duck Duck Air Conditioning, a division of Duck Duck Rooter, is looking for experienced and dependable HVAC services technicians to join our growing team. Duck Duck Air Conditioning is committed to delivering the highest level of service to our customers. Successful candidates will be hardworking, dependable, possess strong problem-solving skills with at least 2 years of HVAC experience. Ready to get to work? Please visit our website at duckduckac.com and click on the careers page. We look forward to hearing from you. That's duckduckac.com.
Duck Duck AC is an equal opportunity employer.
Looking for a mouth-watering lunch that won't leave you feeling heavy? ABBQ's lunch menu features our famous prime brisket dip served on French pastry signature bread. But we also offer lighter fare, including 4 salads to choose from, our house-made chicken salad, our smoked turkey sandwich, and here's the best part. You can add any of our smokehouse meats to our signature salad, so come on down to ABBQ for lunch today and enjoy a meal that's both delicious and guilt-free.
Yum.
ABBQ, meet and drink with us.
Does your home or building need painting? For over 20 years, Performance Painting has had the privilege of preserving many of Jacksonville's most prominent buildings. That said, we feel like we're just getting started. I'm Jason Parker, and our team thrives on preparing, protecting, and preserving the homes, businesses, and public buildings that make up our local landscape. Contact us today to put our years of experience to work for you. Performance Painting, prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
I'm Dr. Mitchell Yass, the most unknown world-renowned expert on pain elimination. That's right, elimination. If you've tried medications, injections, physical therapy, chiropractic, even surgery, and still experience pain, then say yes to Yass. I have successfully used the Yass method for over 30 years to help thousands reclaim their lives. To learn more, call me at 904-906-YASS. Let's end your pain and say yes to Yass.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On May 31st, 2002, the Nets beat the Celtics 96-88 in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Championship to advance to their first NBA Final.
When it comes to commercial fence services, Superior Fence and Rail has you covered. If your business needs automatic gates or security fence and railings, trust Superior with your next commercial project. Superior's team delivers great communication, high-quality products, and exceptional customer service. Just read any of their 2,300-plus reviews.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound and Security is hiring salespeople right now. If you want to sell new tech security cameras or home automation, Tyson Sound and Security is looking for you. Tyson Sound and Security is hiring for sales positions, and they will train you to be successful. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. That's 762-1000. Hiring for sales positions right now. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. Equal opportunity employer.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control. Look, warmer weather now means mosquito, flea, and tick season is here. These pests are out for blood, but you don't have to let them win. Protect your home and family with Kingfish Pest Control. As a Kingfish customer myself, I know their products are safe for kids and pets. Plus, with a 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can relax knowing your yard is pest-free. Call today, mention the Jags to receive 10% off your initial service. That's Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Find your why in your next career move at the First Coast YMCA. Everyone can get involved and make a difference in your community at the Y. And if you'd like to turn your passion into a fulfilling career, the Y is an equal opportunity employer and is now hiring youth program leaders, lifeguards, swim instructors, and more. Plus, Y staff enjoy benefits including free YMCA membership and free childcare while you work. Find your passion, find your why in a career at fcymca.org.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. About 24 hours from right now, the NBA Finals will get underway out in Denver. The first time the Nuggets have been in the NBA Finals in their 47-year history in the NBA, as they will play host to the Miami Heat, who are coming off one of the more memorable NBA Eastern Conference Final series that we've seen in some time. Let's preview the finals. Also look at some big picture NBA topics as well with my friend Sean Devaney. He's covered the NBA for many years. He's now with Heavy.com, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Sean, it's a busy week, man. Thank you for taking time out.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Ryan.
All right, actually, you know what? Let's go in reverse first. Now that we've had a couple of days to decompress, Sean, your overall thoughts on what we saw in the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll begin with the Boston Celtics, and I don't know what that was in Game 7.
Yeah, they looked to me like they were a team that was looking for a reason to lose. And as soon as Jason Tatum turned that ankle and went to the bench and clearly wasn't himself, they sort of said, okay, well, there's our reason. And we got here, we got to Game 7. We fought back. Nobody thought we'd get this far, and we're punching out now. It really looked like they were a team that, was ready to go home after forcing a Game 7. And once Jason Tatum turned that ankle, it really looked like that was it. They just kind of folded their cards. Jaylen Brown really needed to step up. Instead, he has the 8 turnovers, very inefficient shooting night. Derek White played well, but really they didn't get much from anybody else. The defense wasn't there. Just really, you could see they just looked like a defeated team once Tatum turned that ankle. And maybe there would have been either way, but that seemed to be really the impetus for the whole thing. Happened right basically on the first possession. So they never really seemed to recover from that.
There are real questions like in Philadelphia moving forward, Milwaukee moving forward. Obviously, those two will have brand new head coaches. See what happens in free agency with a guy like James Harden. What about Boston, though, Sean? Jaylen Brown is eligible for, I believe, like a $300 million extension. He might not want to shoot that poorly from three-point range going into a contract offseason. Again, it was pretty lackluster there on Sunday evening, or I guess Monday evening. But does Boston need to retool? Do they need to change the direction they're going? What's your thought there?
I don't think they'll do anything. I really think that this is a team that can look at where they are, look at the depth that they have, and pretty much just go forward with what they've got. Maybe some changes around the edges. There's certainly, I live here in Boston, so I've been hearing it all week. The coach needs to go, trade Jaylen Brown. But look, if you trade Jaylen Brown, what are you going to get back? That's my first question. I think people tend to say those things without thinking it through. He's a top 15 player. You're not going to get a top 15 player back for him. So, that's not really a logical thing to do. Certainly you can sign him to the extension and look to trade him maybe down the line. And I think that's possible, but that's not going to happen here in the short term. And the other thing is Joe Mazzulla. What do you do with him? Obviously, 34 years old. Had a good regular season. Certainly there were times with the Celtics collapse, but really got out coached by Eric Spoelstra. A lot of guys get out coached by Eric Spoelstra, but that was certainly one of the highlights. I think they'll come back with Mazzulla, and just hope that there's some growth there. Hope that there's that experience will benefit. And I think that really they look at the Denver Nuggets, and the Nuggets for the last 5 years have been sort of knocking on the door, and they've had some bad luck here and there, but now they're in the NBA Finals. I think with the Celtics, when you get a team that can get you right to the brink of a championship, you don't just break up that team. You got to stick with it and hope you break through next year.
Sean Devaney has covered the NBA for many years. He's with Heavy.com, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Sean, to the Miami Heat we go. How did they do this? How do you go from the play-in tournament like 7 weeks ago, it seems like forever ago, to knocking off Milwaukee, having very little trouble with the Knicks, recovering from one of the biggest gut punches in playoff recent history, that ending in Game 6, and to go into the TD Garden and just dominate like that? I mean, what a run by the Miami Heat.
And they're getting just a little bit from everyone, and I think that's really been the key here. Is that obviously you get playoff Jimmy Butler is a different animal than regular season Jimmy Butler, and we've seen that, and that's very, very effective. He is just terrific. He's built for this kind of year, for this time of year. The way he gets to the free throw line, he can have an inefficient shooting game, as we've seen, but he can still get to the line. He makes his free throws, and that's a real key for him. They play great defense. They have varied sort of defense. They play a lot of zone, which a lot of teams don't do, especially in the postseason. But Miami does it, and they do it very, very well. They really hide the cracks in their zone really well. So the traditional things teams will use to break a zone don't really work against Miami because they're so good at doing it. And they've shot the ball. They've just been off the charts with their shooting. And this was a bad 3-point shooting team all year. They come into the playoffs and everybody has raised their game. So you've got Gabe Vincent shooting 39%. You've got Caleb Martin shooting 44%. Strus at 36%. Kyle Lowry's been pretty good, 36%. Kevin Love, 37%. Duncan Robinson, 45%. These guys all were not that good in the regular season, so they come in and they've really, really improved on that end. So yeah, this is a team that really has just gotten a little bit from everybody, and that's been enough to get them to this point.
You talk about the great coaches in NBA history. Obviously, there's Red Auerbach and Phil Jackson and Greg Popovich, and there's certainly a gap after, guys of that sort. But I got to tell you, man, and you obviously have done this for a living for, 20-plus years, Eric Spoelstra doesn't get near the credit he deserves. People, the LeBron team, that was all LeBron. Well, all right, I guess I could have heard you on that topic, 12, 13 years ago. But LeBron hasn't been in Miami for a decade, man. And the Heat have been competitive. They've been in the last 4 Eastern Finals. They've now been to 2 NBA Finals. They're the second 8 seed in NBA history to make it to the NBA Finals. I mean, Spoelstra, I don't even think he's won Coach of the Year in his career, which is lunacy. The guy is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Jerry Sloan, for his career, as great as he was. He couldn't win a Coach of the Year for the longest time, so that sort of reminds you of that. But I think after this year, I think Spoelstra will get the credit he deserves. I think part of the reason he doesn't is that a lot of people view this as Pat Riley's show, and even Spoelstra will do this where he'll go out and he say, "Well, I'm kind of the caretaker. This is Pat's thing. I'm just the caretaker. I'm just the guy on this." He's very humble that way, but the reality is that he's making the calls during the game, and he's making the decisions. One of the things he does so well, Ryan, I know we talked about this before, is he'll play the young guys or the untested guys in November and December, and then when you get to the time where you need them in May, they're ready. They've been tested. So a guy like Caleb Martin, a guy like Max Strus or Gabe Vincent, the undrafted guys that get so much attention. Well, they've been developing these guys for 2-3 years now. They know what they're going to get from them at this time of year. They're not surprised by it. We may be, but they're not, and that's because of how Spoelstra gives them opportunities and sees what they're made of early on, and knows and thus knows what to expect at this time of year. He's very, very good at that.
I mean, look, I'm an Orlando Magic guy. It's not in my DNA to praise the Miami Heat by any stretch of the imagination, but I give credit where credit's due, and an unbelievable amount of respect to the Heat and Spoelstra and what they've accomplished. Knocking off Milwaukee, knocking off Boston, I mean, good grief. Now we get to the finals, which begin tomorrow night, and now it's a different animal to me, Sean. Denver has been destroying people in the Western Conference. I think they have played up this lack of respect card, which I do think was fair. I think a lot of people were not paying them much attention, 2 months ago, even though they were the number 1 seed. And they're using that chip on their shoulder, and they've quite frankly been hurting people. I mean, how is Miami going to approach having to stop Nikola Jokic, who, if you have not seen that guy play, it is an absolute pleasure to watch him play basketball.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge because, we talked about how Miami has raised its game across the board. Well, Denver's done the same, and they've got better players. They were starting from a better point. So you've got Jokic averaging just about 30 points. I believe he's third in the postseason in points. He's first in assists. This is the 7-foot big man. He's first in assists at 10.3 point per game. I believe he's second in rebounds in the playoffs at 13.3. And he's shooting 47% from the 3-point line, which is third. So that's a pretty good weapon to have for your 7-footer. And it's going to throw off Bam Adebayo, who's probably the best defensive player in the league, certainly the most versatile defensive player in the league. He's going to be pulled out from the basket. He's going to have to find ways to handle Jokic. We'll see if maybe the Lakers, when they put Rui Hachimura on Jokic, had a little more success. We'll see if Miami has an adjustment that they can go to try to deal with Jokic and what he does. But the problem is that Jamal Murray's playing great. He averaged 20 points during the regular season. He's up to 28 in the playoffs, shooting 40% from the 3-point line. He's been fantastic. Aaron Gordon's been really good. Michael Porter Jr. is making 40% of his threes. KCP is making 41% of his threes. So you're really in a situation where it's like a water balloon that you press on one end and you say, all right, we're going to stop this, and then it just goes to all that water just goes to the other side, and nothing's changed. And so it's very, very difficult. That zone defense is really going to be tested because really Denver has 5 guys who are capable of putting 20 points on you, and it's going to be really tough for them to decide, okay, where do we go to try to ensure that we can stop these guys. That's going to be a real challenge for Miami.
A couple of more for Sean Devaney of Heavy.com. Sean, I'm asking you to go back in the memory banks a little bit. Nikola Jokic, I want to say, was the 41st player drafted in his draft. And with everything, the millions and millions of dollars invested in scouting these players overseas and everything that these NBA teams put into this, how did that happen? How did everybody miss on this phenomenal player in Nikola Jokic?
I think one of the things was, he wasn't, when he was coming up, he was not, you could look at him. He doesn't have the look of, a super athletic, European big guy who is versatile and can do a whole bunch of different things. He didn't really look like that kind of player. He was not a great outside shooter. That's something he developed over time. Always been a really good passer. That's always been there. But yeah, it was easy to miss on him. I think just because of the way he looked physically. Credit to Denver not only to draft him, but remember that Denver early on, they had him and they had Yusuf Nurkic, who's of course with Portland now, and they sort of had to make a decision: who are we going to keep? And there were a lot of people who said, Nurkic was more accomplished, and they said, well, you got to stick with Nurkic. You can't go with this guy, hasn't done anything. But credit Denver for saying, we're going to stick with this Jokic guy. They wound up trading Nurkic, and the rest has been history. So yeah, you could look at him and he does it so much of scouting as much as we do all the analytics and all the measurement and all that stuff. A lot of it winds up coming down to an eye test. And if you're making an eye test on a young Nikola Jokic, you're not necessarily saying future NBA MVP. And that's one of the reasons why he slipped through the cracks.
I heard an interesting comparison. Forgive me, I'm not sure if I was talking with you about this or somebody else, but Arvydas Sabonis, right?
Yeah.
In Europe was phenomenal, yet he did not come over to the NBA until I think he was 30 plus. We did not see Sabonis in the prime of his career. Even when he came over here, he was still very good, but he was 32-year-old good, not 27-year-old
right.
good. Is that the comparison with Jokic? That would have been Sabonis if he would have came over here in the prime.
Yeah. I think that was with me that we had that chat. Because Sabonis, not only that, but he was also playing with like no cartilage in his knees. He had iron curtain knees. He did not get the best in terms of surgeries as he was when he got injured as a young guy. So, but Sabonis, was just this massive guy, 7'2", and just terrific, just a beautiful passer, even when he wasn't necessarily in the best of shape as he got older. But just a wonderful passer, saw the floor so well, controlled the ball, controlled the defense. He was really just a fantastic player. Probably the only thing that I've ever seen that's close to what Jokic does. And you're right, just because of politics, basically, the Cold War was the only reason that they tried. Dale Brown, who's the coach at LSU, tried to get Sabonis to come to LSU and almost pulled it off, but it was quashed by the Russians sort of at the last moment. So yeah, there were a number of attempts to get Sabonis to the U.S., but just never quite worked out until after the fall of the Iron Curtain.
And, of course, Sabonis' son out in Sacramento, one of the better NBA big men now going in the league right now. All right, Sean, as we wrap up with Sean Devaney, it begins tomorrow night. We're 24 hours away from Game 1. How do you see the finals playing out?
Yeah, I hate to pick against Miami just because I've picked against them pretty much every round, and they keep showing that I'm wrong. So I would not be surprised to see Miami win this thing. It's just, as I mentioned, Denver's just, the talent level is so high. They've got everybody really cruising. I think Miami having to go to Denver to start the series, on short rest, the fact that this went 7 games, they've got no time to adjust to the altitude in Denver. I think that's a big advantage for the Heat and for the Nuggets. And I think the Nuggets sort of come out strong and ride that to a series win. Might take 7 games. I wouldn't be surprised to see this be a 7-gamer with the Nuggets coming out on top.
Yeah, I like the Nuggets too, but of course that's probably exactly where the Heat like to be because nobody picked them to beat the Bucks or the Celtics, and yet here we are. Sean, final question. I haven't talked to you since LeBron James said what he said after the Western Conference Finals, that he is contemplating retirement. You've covered LeBron his entire career. Was that just frustration after losing in the fashion that did, being swept, or do you really feel like LeBron is thinking about calling it a career?
Yeah, I think there are a few things at play. I think part of it is, as you said, he's 38 years old. He just got swept, and now he's looking at all the work he's got to do in the off season and everything he's got to go through just to try to get back to this point. Doesn't know if he really wants to do that. That's completely normal. So I think part of it is that. I think there is, LeBron is always thinking a step ahead as well. And I'm sure part of it is, I need to make sure I have leverage over the franchise to get them to do what I want, to get them to try to get some players who I want to bring in, whether it's Kyrie Irving or whoever else. And so part of them was saying, okay, I need to find a way to create some leverage, and possible retirement is one way I can do that. So I think that was part of it. But in the end, look, he's got $100 million left on that contract over 2 years. There's no way he's passing up $100 million over 2 years, which he would do if he were to retire. So I fully expect to see LeBron back with the Lakers next year.
You can check Sean Devaney out, heavy.com. He's one of our guys here talking NBA with us in the city of Jacksonville. Sean, appreciate it, brother. Enjoy the finals. We'll talk again soon.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Jacksonville Sports, Island in the Sun. 1010XL.
Hey, Jake, can you finish that induction range installation tomorrow?
Orders have really amped up at Nate's Electric.
We need to finish installing it first in Maine. Did we hear back from the grocery chain?
It's no shock he needs electricians, like yesterday.
Smart fridge. Everybody wants one of those these days.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions
If you've
apply.
dreamt about a career in radio but don't know where to start, we've got great news for you. 1010XL has partnered with the Broadcasters and Sportscasters Mentoring Group to offer mentorship opportunities with one of our radio pros right here at 1010XL. Visit getintobroadcasting.com to grab your free report and learn about the training and tuition costs. Go to getintobroadcasting.com to grab your free report now.
Are you embarrassed by your ugly, cracked concrete driveway? Need to enhance your home's curb appeal? StoneCore on Phillips Highway is your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs. Replacing with new stone pavers will transform your driveway into a stunning work of art. Say goodbye to unsightly concrete and hello to beautiful, durable pavers that last for years. Visit StoneCore today and let's beautify your home together. StoneCore.co. We do outdoors better.
Cataracts can take a toll on the quality of a loved one's life. Maybe it's even your parents or someone close to you. Hey, Hicken here. I've been talking to you about Bowden Eye. And it turns out renowned cataract care is right here at Bowden Eye & Associates. Their doctors help those with cataracts feel hopeful, sometimes for the first time in a long time. If someone you love is suffering from cataracts, schedule a visit for a personal consultation. 3 locations to serve you, including the new office on County Road 210 in St. Johns County.
Jeff Lageman, Kevin Faber, and Kirk Waltz bring you into the outdoors.
We've got 3 big bucks.
On the Nimnicht Outdoors Show, presented by Duck Duck Rooter, 7 to 10 every Saturday morning on 1010XL.
At Andy's Automotive and Truck Services, they know that your company's fleet is more than just a bunch of cars and trucks. It's your livelihood, your reputation, your pride. So when you need routine fleet maintenance or emergency repairs, Andy's offers after-hours and mobile service to minimize your downtime and keep your fleet running like new. While you care for your employees and customers, rest assured Andy's Automotive will take care of your fleet. Visit the team at andysats.com.
Want a low down payment and a low monthly payment on your next ride? Then you've got to go to Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Mia here. Right now, you can buy a pre-owned 2019 Toyota Corolla for just $1,000 down and $288 a month. Or you choose a pre-owned 2020 Camry, RAV4, or Tacoma for just $1,000 down and $388 a month. With over 400 used in stock plus more than 100 vehicles under $18,000, don't wait. 10939 Atlantic Boulevard and online at arlingtontoyota.com.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
Dave
Dave Benyon here with Zero Res. I love living in Jacksonville, where we have so many families who serve or have served in the military. I am so grateful for their sacrifice to keep us safe. If you have a family member who is on active duty or is a veteran, now is the time to call Zero Res. Right now, get a 25% military discount on everything we clean. That's 25% off carpet cleaning, tile and grout, upholstery, or oriental rugs. Zero Res, spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel Heilman from the brand new Fourscore Golf Tavern. We do elevated food, drinks, and golf simulator fun. If you're looking for a delicious meal or maybe a spot for a client, we have lunch specials every day. Need to entertain a few people from out of town? Easy. Just reserve one of our 4 simulator bays. Lunch service starts at 11 a.m. daily. Located in San Marcos Square, we'll see you at lunch at Fourscore Golf Tavern.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. We're your local family jeweler for 46 years in Jacksonville with a huge selection of diamonds, gemstones, and pre-owned Rolex watches. And Monahan Jewelers is your store for expert jewelry repair turned around in 1 or 2 days. Most jewelry stores take 2 weeks or more, and many stores send your jewelry somewhere else for repair. At Monahan Jewelers, our jewelry repair is done in-house by expert craftsmen, and Monahans can turn around most repairs in a day or two. So bring your jewelry repair to Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
10 minutes before the 9 o'clock hour, or with you till 10 o'clock tonight, as we are every night. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. As always, we are streaming for your viewing pleasure on YouTube and on Twitter. Just search 1010XL on YouTube and at 1010XL on Twitter, and you will see the show there. You can watch it up until 10 o'clock tonight here on Hacker After Dark. More on the Jaguars coming up in about 15 minutes. Mark Long of the Associated Press. We'll talk Jags OTAs. We'll talk Cam Robinson. A little Josh Allen conversation. Remember, Josh Allen is one of the only guys not at these voluntary workouts right now. What does that mean moving forward? More on all of that with Mark Long in about 15 minutes. So the SEC meetings out in Destin wrap up tomorrow. And there was a thought that we were going to have the schedule issue figured out. It was going to be a huge deal that the SEC is moving from an 8-game conference schedule to a 9-game conference schedule, meaning only 3 non-conference games. They were going to shake everything up when it came to the schedule because, obviously, of the arrival of Texas and Oklahoma beginning in 2024. But that apparently is not the case. Dennis Dodd, CBSSports.com, reporting this evening that SEC officials are inching closer to doing essentially nothing when it comes to deciding whether to start playing 9 conference games beginning in 2024. Dodd goes on, for reasons large and small, SEC presidents are likely to stay at 8 games Thursday when the issue is scheduled to be voted upon. The SEC will most likely decide on a temporary stay at 8 games before reconsidering its options in a year or two. It appears only 5 schools of the SEC's 14 current members support a 9-game league schedule. Those schools reportedly are Georgia, LSU, Missouri, Texas A&M, and Florida. A simple majority of 8 schools is needed for a deciding vote in either direction. Chief among the obstacles of adding an additional conference matchup is the uncertainty whether ESPN will pay for a total of 8 extra games in 2024 once Texas and Oklahoma join the league. Also being considered are the additional game impacts on college football playoff contention, bowl eligibility, and the bottom line. The story goes on, but essentially those are the greatest hits. Dennis Dodd, CBSSports.com. Denmark, you're a diehard college football fan. You and I have had many conversations over the last weeks and months under the assumption that the SEC was going to go to 9 games. In fact, I would say as recently as a month ago, it was almost a foregone conclusion. So now as we sit on the eve of the vote and CBS Sports is reporting that that's not going to happen, they're going to stay at 8 games, your thoughts? Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it's surprising, especially, this was supposed to be a foregone conclusion a month ago. You can move to 9 games when Texas and Oklahoma move in. And the teams that are still undecided publicly are Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Auburn, and Arkansas. If you add another conference game, you add more money to the conference, a la you add more money to your school for the payout. I don't understand what the deal is, why those certain schools are opposed to it. But I would assume that if it's not done pen to paper tomorrow, that it'll move to 9 eventually for next meetings when when Oklahoma and Texas come to the conference.
Some SEC coaches and athletic directors would like to know, this is according to Dennis Dodd, would like to know how much the CFP selection committee values a 9th conference game. With the college football playoff field tripling from 4 to 12 teams in 2024, is it worth risking a playoff spot for the nation's best, most powerful league to navigate through a process that remains largely unknown and undefined? The expanded playoff has to be discussed. Greg Byrne, the AD at Alabama, said on Wednesday, those additional games, what does that load look like? To me, if we're going to play more Power 5 non-conference and SEC games, let's make sure we're rewarded for the strength of schedule. So there are a lot of factors in play here, but for you, the Florida Gator fan, the Georgia Bulldog fan, any SEC fan in the crowd tonight here on Hacker After Dark, once you get through all the minutia, the bottom line is not much is going to change. It will still be an 8-game schedule. I would imagine, and again, we'll get clarity on this tomorrow, that when Texas and Oklahoma enter, they're going to have to go into a division, right? If you play 8 conference games, what's likely to happen is you're going to have 2 8-team divisions, I would guess. So you play all 7 teams in your division, and you play 1 crossover opponent. What does that mean for the divisions? Or could they do what the ACC is going to do and just completely get rid of the divisions, go 1 to 16? That's also something that could be looked at. But the interesting thing about these decisions is this is next year. This is not 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road. That schedule for the SEC usually comes out in September or October. Tomorrow's June 1st. So they do not have a lot of time to figure this out. I like the way Dennis Dodd said it. It's kind of a stay. They're going to stay here temporarily for a year or 2 until they see how the 12-team playoff works out, till they get more information, and then at that point, reevaluate this thing in 2025 or 2026. Me personally, I'm a little disappointed because I was wrapping my mind around the idea of the 3-6 model and what that would mean in the Southeastern Conference. And what had been discussed a lot is you play 3 permanent opponents and you have 6 rotating opponents every year. What that would do is you would play every SEC team twice in a 4-year period, and you would visit every SEC stadium once in a 4-year period. It's been well documented. Georgia has never been to College Station since A&M joined the conference. When Alabama came to Florida, what was that, Mullins last year, Alabama hadn't been to the Swamp in a decade. That all would have ended with the 3-6 model. That apparently is not the case, according to CBS Sports' report tonight. So a final vote tomorrow, but it appears the 9-game conference schedule is only being supported by 5 SEC teams. Among them is Florida and Georgia. You need 8 to pass. So unless there is a drastic change of heart by 3 additional SEC presidents in the next, 16 hours, it looks like it will remain as a 8-game schedule. We'll have Brent Beard on tomorrow to talk more about this, maybe another college guest or two to close out the week on Friday. But the 9-game SEC schedule, at least for the here and now, does not appear to be starting in the 2024 season. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you here on Hacker After Dark. Let's get back into the National Football League. Let's get back in to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Week 2, OTAs. I was out there earlier this week. I saw my friend Mark Long of the Associated Press. Let's talk to Mark about Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, this rookie class, and an interesting comment or two on both Cam Robinson and Josh Allen, who's entering a contract year, and Josh Allen is not at these voluntary OTA workouts. What, if anything, does that mean? Mark Long of the Associated Press, next on Hacker After Dark.
Mystery Men.
I'm invisible. Can you see me?
Yeah. Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
Do I know you guys?
I don't think so. Changing the world one Guggen at a time. Learn it, live it, love it. Mornings on 1010XL.
We aim to please.
Hey Jacksonville, this is Crystal, COO with Remedy Staffing. As employers, labor trends continue to keep us guessing. Is the job market strong? And what is worker availability going to look like? Well, February's BLS job report indicated that we have a hot job market and that Jacksonville's unemployment rate is 2.5%, 1% lower than our national average. So if you're interested in workforce solutions and how our team can help you, please call or text me at 904-329-9802.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity line of credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity credit line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
It's the perfect day. You're just driving along, listening to your favorite music, the windows down. There's a cool breeze. Life is good. But wait, hold on a second. You're not wearing a seatbelt? You'd better put that on before that... Oh, too late. Cops everywhere are stepping up enforcement, so you'd better buckle up or you will get caught. Sorry to ruin your day. Click it or ticket.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
WJXL FM, Jacksonville Beach.
So we bid farewell to Goldie the goldfish as she journeys to that big pond in the sky. Amen.
She's still there, Dad.
What?
Goldie's still there, Dad.
Because Dad didn't have Roland Reese Plumbing clean the drains and sewer lines, this little pet funeral is going to take a long time.
All right, we therefore send our Goldie once again to the appropriate place.
She's still there.
For this and all of your plumbing needs, 24 hours a day, call Roland Reese Plumbing at 260-7059 or click plumberinjacks.com.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best products and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From Roll-and Lock bed covers to Lear toppers to Cam Locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Dreams Come True is the only local wish-granting organization giving dreams and special times to local children battling life-threatening illnesses. Find out how you can help at dreamscometrue.org.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjacks.org.
Her Song is a nonprofit organization that breaks the cycle of human trafficking through survivor care, victim outreach, and education. Find out how you can help at hersong.org.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
The 5-Star Veteran Center of Jacksonville is the place homeless veterans can go to recover, recharge, retrain, and reconnect. Learn more at 5starveterancenter.org.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Clearwater. John, I can't even mow my side yard. It's so soggy. Man, my builder sucks.
Brent, calm down. This is a common problem in neighborhoods where houses are built too close together. You need gutters and a properly installed French drain that will soak up subsurface water. We can completely dry it up.
So I can take my builder off my speed dial now, huh?
Yeah, we got you, buddy. Let that builder bitterness go.
Clearwater irrigation and drainage too.
There's a new butcher in town. We're talking a vacuum marinating, sausage grinding, take and bake siding, value pricing, full service butcher. And our name is Southern Steer.
Now open in Ortega. For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying. They can also signal a major problem or electrical emergency. So leave it to the pros and Mr. Sparky.
8Sparky. Your on-time electrician, Mr. Sparky of the First Coast.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Week number 2 for the Jacksonville Jaguars OTAs. Cam Robinson makes an appearance, as does new kicker Brandon McManus. And, of course, the Jaguars continue working up until veteran minicamp in the middle part of June. With that, we welcome in my friend Mark Long of the Associated Press. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mark, how you doing, man?
Hi, doing well. How about you, Hacker?
Hey, Mark, we're good. Thank you for the time. And all right, you and I haven't talked since before the draft. You've now gotten a couple of weeks to look at these 13 new rookies, including Anton Harrison at tackle there. Your initial thoughts, Mark, on the rookie class the Jaguars drafted?
Yeah, I mean, I thought a couple of things. I think, if you watched last season and the way it ended, this team, you can make a strong case that this team should have gone out and signed the world on defense, right? And they didn't do it. They didn't do a lot in free agency on the defensive side of the ball, and they did nothing in the first 3 rounds on defense on that side of the ball. And, it's a little bit of a head scratcher, but then you start talking to people and you realize, okay, well, what they did was they doubled down on offense. They said, listen, it doesn't matter who we get in the draft. One guy or 2 guys on the defensive side of the ball aren't really going to help us stop Patrick Mahomes or stop Josh Allen or slow down Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Or, that's not really what's going to happen with one guy. Those guys are that good. They are elite quarterbacks. And so what we're going to do is, we're going to double down on offense and outscore them. And so I find it interesting now when you start looking back that that's what they did. They traded for Calvin Ridley. They tagged Evan Ingram. They used their first 3 picks on Anton Harrison, a right tackle, Brenton Strange, a tight end, and then the running back out of Auburn. And so Tank Bigsby. So those 3 guys, those 5 guys are really going to help this team kind of take the next step, plus being in the second year of Doug Peterson's offense, plus Trevor Lawrence being in the second year of an offense for the first time in a few years here. So all of those pieces, they are really, really doubling, tripling, quadrupling down, whatever you want to call it, on the offensive side of the ball. Totally opposite what most people would think when you watch them not be able to sack Patrick Mahomes in that divisional round game back in January. So it's pretty fascinating. But when you watch these guys, you just go, oh, gosh, now I know. Now I see what they saw. I mean, Tank Bigsby looks the part. Brenton Strange looks the part. Anton Harrison looks the part. These are big dudes who are they're not tweeners, they're not misfit. They know who they are, they know their position, and they bring a lot to the table. Very, very productive players in college. And I do believe that they're going to help instantly on the offensive side of the ball for the Jacksonville Jags in 2023.
Mark Long of the Associated Press. You know, Mark, seeing Cam Robinson out at OTAs earlier this week, the thought popped into my mind, it's not a story now. It'll become a story when we find out how long the suspension will be, but one would think it would not be any longer than 6 games. And with that as a backdrop, he's going to be back. I mean, it's not like Cam Robinson's not here. So if it is, say, 6 games, right, that's probably going to be the max it'll be. Walker Little, Anton Harrison are your 2 tackles for the first 6 weeks. Mark, if things are going well, then what do you do when Cam Robinson becomes eligible to come back?
Well, that's the $1 million question, right? And really, for the Jags case, it's a $16 million question because that's what, they would pay Cam Robinson to be on this roster. I think he needed to be here. I was a little surprised that he's here, but I thought it was genius move on his part to show up to OTAs, to be engaged. Here's the thing Cam Robinson can't afford right now. He can't afford for Walker Little to become the team's left tackle and Anton Harrison to become the team's right tackle. And the Jags look at that and, okay, well, we got Josh Wells who can play left and right. Let's just roll with those 3. And we'll trade Cam Robinson or cut Cam Robinson and use that money to maybe go sign a pass rusher, one of those big-time free agent pass rushers. That's a thought process that they could have. And I think it's super important for Cam to come in here and show that, hey, I'm the left tackle. I'm in good shape. My knee is fine, and I want to be here, and I want to contribute. And no matter how long the suspension is, I'm going to be a factor for this team. Whether you have to wait for me for 4 games or 6 games or 2 games or whatever it is, I'm worth you gambling on or taking a chance on. And so, because what happens is when he gets suspended, assuming he gets suspended, guaranteed money in his contract becomes void. So what's a guaranteed contract right now at $16 million, $22 million cap hit, that's gone. If he gets suspended, that's all of a sudden the guarantees are voided. Now he's still on the books for $16 million, but only if you keep him on the roster. So they could part ways with Cam Robinson and save $16 million if and when he gets suspended. Whether it's 2, 4, 6, 10 games, whatever it is, they could part ways with him and save $16 million against the cap. So I think from that standpoint, he has to know that. His agent has to know that. And so from that standpoint, it is super important for him to show up, get on the field, and prove to the team that he is worth keeping at $16 million. Because I'll guarantee you this, Cam Robinson's probably not going to get another team, especially with a guy who's suspended or facing a suspension, to give him $16 million. It's not going to happen. That doesn't happen in June or July unless, you have a major injury at a starting left tackle's position, because that's the only spot he's played, right? So you have to have – there's only 32 starting spots. So there's 31 others. So he'd have to go somewhere – he'd have to have something happen in one of those spots to where they go, okay, we have a massive hole and we're going to pay him top-line dollar. It's just not going to happen. So his best bet is to convince the Jags that he needs to be here and that he wants to be here and that they need him to be here. So, for him to do that, he's got to be here. So I thought it was pretty ingenious on his camp, probably the smart thing to do, show up, be present, be out there in the field. He was not involved in team drills, but he certainly was working with the team, and that's a step forward for him.
Mark Long of the Associated Press here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mark, you've got your eyes on Calvin Ridley now for a couple of weeks. Again, the caveat always is this time of year, T-shirt, helmet, shorts, no pads, obviously, no contact. So it's hard to decipher too much. Having said that, boy, Calvin Ridley looks awfully good out there in a Jaguar uniform.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I saw one today where Trevor Lawrence threw a ball up high, and I thought it was going to go over his head. And he's just got, catch radius. He's just got some long outstretched arms, good hands. He dropped the ball today, and this is another thing that I really, really liked. not that he dropped the ball, but how he reacted to dropping a ball.
Yeah, he was
This
mad.
is a guy-
Yeah, I saw that. He was angry.
This was and this wasn't a guy who just ran back to the huddle or jumped over to the side and did his push-ups or whatever. What he did was he looked at Trevor and he kind of gave the whole the wheels signal for his hands. Let's run it back. And so what happened was Trevor Lawrence stayed in his spot. Calvin Ridley hustles back, and they re-ran the exact same play. And this time, Calvin Ridley caught the ball, no questions asked. And it was just that kind of work ethic, that kind of dedication, that kind of, hey, listen, my bad, but but let's fix it. Let's go back and fix it and do it right so that we can move on. And it's a complete little nuance, Hacker, but it was something super cool to see because you don't see it very often in this league where a guy takes it upon himself like that in practice to run it back. And so it shows a couple things. Obviously, it shows his dedication. And then secondly, I think his commitment, and which, very similar there, but also just his ability, his want and his desire to get it right and be a team leader and a guy everybody else can kind of look up to and watch.
Mark, it's not very often that a guy calls the Jaguars wanting to come here. But we found out earlier this week during OTAs with special teams coordinator Heath Farwell met the media that Brandon McManus apparently reached out to Jacksonville and said, or had his agent reach out to Jacksonville and wanted to come here, wanted to be a part of what the Jaguars are doing. And, boy, that took me aback a little bit because we have not had that for a long, long time. What did you make of that story?
Yeah, really, really kind of cool deal. And I think the guy you have to credit for him probably being here is Joe DeCamillis. That's what really happened was he called Joe D and he said, hey, listen, they're cutting me here. Do you know of a spot? And Joe DeCamillis, who's apparently good friends with Heath Farwell, two special teams coordinators. I mean, obviously Farwell's a younger one, but Joe D's been in the league 30-something years. And Joe D said, yeah, you should contact Heath Farwell with the Jags. And sure enough, then, his agent gets involved, Drew Rosenhaus. But before that even happens, McManus calls Heath Farwell, cold called him, got on the line and said, hey, I'm available. What's it look like at Jacksonville? Is there opportunity there? And then, of course, Farwell's got to take it to Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke and get it all approved. The agent's got to get involved, talk and whatnot. But it was really cool the way it happened because you don't see it happening like that very often. Certainly agents do work, this, that, and the other. But, McManus, you talked to him today, and he's been kind of putting out feelers for years. It's like he made it very clear that when he goes pregame warm-up, no matter wherever team they're facing, when he does pregame warm-up, he makes it a point to go meet the opposing special teams coach so that, guys know who he is, guys know what he's about, and he just builds these relationships. And so it was a little bit of a cold call for Heath Farwell, but it wasn't necessarily a cold call. I mean, it was certainly out of the blue, but this was a relationship that they started last year in London. Before the game, before the Broncos played the Jags in London, McManus went up, found Farwell, introduced himself. They talked about Joe D, some of the people they had crossed. And so that's really where this thing started. I don't think McManus had it on his radar that he was going to get cut. Certainly that wasn't the case. But what I think he was thinking was, hey, this does happen in this league, and you're smart, and it's really a smart move would be to make sure people know who you are. Kickers can kick into their 40s easily, and so he's 31 years old, and he doesn't see himself leaving the NFL anytime soon. So he looks at this, he's got a second decade with a new team here potentially, and you don't do that just by not having friends and knowing people. It is a league where it pays to know people, and for his standpoint, he's been trying to get to know the whole league for 9 years.
Final moments here with Mark Long of the Associated Press. Mark, as we make the turn for home, you talked earlier about how important you thought it was for Cam Robinson to be at OTAs. Again, these are voluntary, and that's important. But I think of the 90 guys, like 88 of them are here. Evan Ingram cannot be here because he's not technically under contract because he hasn't signed anything yet, the franchise tag or a long-term deal. And then there's Josh Allen, who's coming into a contract year. And by my account, Josh Allen, I believe, is the only guy that was allowed to be here that was not, because, again, Ingram cannot be here. So do you read anything into Josh Allen not being here now for 2 weeks of OTAs?
You know, the only thing to read into it is Josh Allen is kind of shooting his shot, so to speak. He's, this is what he's got. He can hold out from voluntary and at least send a message that, hey, I'm not happy. I should have gotten paid, or I think I should have gotten paid. Because most guys don't want to go into their 5th year without a contract. They feel like, they've proven some things, and certainly Josh played really well late last season in the playoffs, was really good. But, coming off 8 sacks, it's not like he's also, I think it would have been crazy for him to expect a $15 to $20 million a year deal as well. So, but my guess is, having not spoken to Josh or his people, the only thing I can assume is this is just kind of his way of voicing his displeasure. Now, does it matter? Probably not. Josh is still on the hook. I think he's on for $11 or $12 million. He'd be crazy to try to sit out. You come, you get paid, you try to prove your worth, right? Josh Allen would be one of the top 5 defensive linemen on the free agent market next year, or even right now. He would be a big time commodity because of his age, because of what he has, his durability, because of his productivity. So, but that's my assumption. I don't know. For all I know, Josh could have family issues. He could have personal issues. He could just have decided to work out on his own during this voluntary period and planning to be here for the mandatory stuff and move on. But, until I hear otherwise, usually when guys like that at his level, team captains, are skipping the voluntary stuff, it's usually to send a message. And, I don't know what the end goal here, the end game is, because I don't think he's going to get a contract. I'd be shocked if he did get a contract before the season. I think the Jags are in a, wait and see, prove it kind of mode with him. You got to show us that you can be consistent every single week and that you can take your game to the next level, because they've been waiting on it, and he's shown glimpses, and they've just kind of been waiting on him to explode and become the player everybody thinks he can be.
Mark Long of the Associated Press, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mark, know you're busy, man. Thank you for the time. We'll see you out there next week at OTAs.
All right, sounds good, Hack. Thank you.
Jaguars beat reporter Hayes Carline.
Oh, well, he's very popular.
Weekday afternoons on The Frangie Show
They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
on 1010XL.
You sounded like Dirty Harry just then.
92.5 FM.
Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute is the sports medicine leader in Northeast Florida. We're proud to be the official sports medicine provider for your hometown teams, including the Jaguars, Sharks, Axemen, Armada, and the Jumbo Shrimp. We have the most cutting-edge resources for sports medicine care, including Active Armor casting, Alter-G anti-gravity treadmills, and highly trained physicians and athletic trainers. JOI is truly where the pros go, and so should you.
Children under 5 die from drowning in Florida more than any other state. Together, we can reduce the risk of drowning. The YMCA has programs accessible to families that teach essential water safety skills. Face the water with confidence. Learn more at watersafetyflorida.org.
Chad and Sandy Newman have a promise for you at chadandsandy.com. Your home is going to be sold guaranteed, or guess what, gang? They will buy it. Right now, it is prime home selling season. Home buyers are actively looking. Mortgage rates are stabilizing. It's the ideal time to get your home sold for maximum dollar. So any problems you think you may have, whether you want maximum equity for your home but not sure how, or maybe you're worried about costly repairs or upgrades, don't worry about all those, because chadandsandy.com have a promise for you. They guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Denny and Patty in Waterfront Mandarin said another agent failed to sell our luxury waterfront home. We were tired of waiting, so we had moved out. It was costing us a fortune. We decided to put Chad and Sandy's guarantee to the test, and they did it. Our home sold in 12 days for $56,000 higher than the previous agents even suggested. Call Chad and Sandy, or better yet, go to chadandsandy.com. That's ChadAndSandy.com.
Summer is here, so while you're at the beach or on your bike, head on down to Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, where you'll find the absolute freshest seafood in all of the 904. The biggest shrimp, the saltiest oysters, the freshest fish, all here at our newly renovated restaurant in Neptune Beach. Fresh seafood delivered daily by Safe Harbor, straight from the boat to your plate. Unique oyster specials daily, along with mixed cocktails from the bar. Come enjoy this beach vibe. Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, locally owned by Safe Harbor Seafood.
We're the only animal on the planet that pretends like the female of our species is weak. Have you guys ever met a woman?
Helmets and heels.
Not weak at all.
Driven by Tire Outlet.
And presented by Underwood Jewelers.
Great, so we're all good?
Tuesday nights at 6.
On 1010XL.
Superior Fence and Rail knows about exceptional customer service. From the first call to the final inspection, Superior's team provides first-class care with great communication, friendly installers, and quality fence products. There's a reason why Superior is the top-rated fence company in Jacksonville. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your new fence today.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Dave Benyon here with Zero Res. I love living in Jacksonville, where we have so many families who serve or have served in the military. I am so grateful for their sacrifice to keep us safe. If you have a family member who is on active duty or is a veteran, now is the time to call Zero Res. Right now, get a 25% military discount on everything we clean. That's 25% off carpet cleaning, tile and grout, upholstery, or oriental rugs. Zero Res, spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Servicing every customer like they're famous. But what does that mean for you? It comes down to the famous philosophy. You'll find a consistency at all 20 locations in friendly service, honest pricing, and realistic time expectations. They know when you find someone you trust to maintain your vehicle, keep it running right, and lasting longer, you'll stick with them. And that's the famous philosophy at Famous Automotive in Quick Lube. Ask about a fleet account for your business.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. We're your local family jeweler for 46 years in Jacksonville with a huge selection of diamonds, gemstones, and pre-owned Rolex watches. And Monahan Jewelers is your store for expert jewelry repair turned around in 1 or 2 days. Most jewelry stores take 2 weeks or more, and many stores send your jewelry somewhere else for repair. At Monahan Jewelers, our jewelry repair is done in-house by expert craftsmen, and Monahans can turn around most repairs in a day or two. So bring your jewelry repair to Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound & Security is hiring salespeople right now. If you want to sell new tech security cameras or home automation, Tyson Sound & Security is looking for you. Tyson Sound & Security is hiring for sales positions, and they will train you to be successful. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. That's 762-1000. Hiring for sales positions right now. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. Equal opportunity employer.
Ever wonder what it's like to drive a real military tank? Check out TankAmerica.com for a badass tank driving experience. That's right, you can drive an actual tank through mud and crush cars. Sounds awesome, right? Visit TankAmerica.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
What you need to do is be thankful for the life you got, you know what I'm saying? Stop looking at what you ain't got, start being thankful.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's always a good time to be a sports fan, no matter where we are, particularly right here in Jacksonville. But imagine being a sports fan in South Florida. Really over the last 2 months and certainly over the next 2 weeks. The NBA Finals tomorrow night. Miami and Denver. Saturday night, the Stanley Cup Finals with the Florida Panthers and the Las Vegas Golden Knights. What is the mood in South Florida with both the Panthers and the Heat looking to win a Stanley Cup and a Larry O'Brien trophy respectively? Well, we'll go find out. Kevin Rogers, WQAM Radio in Miami, will join us in less than 10 minutes here on Hacker After Dark. We are 99 days away from the NFL season opening up. Thursday night, September the 7th. I remember when the schedule came out, we spent so much time on the Jaguars, right? We really didn't branch out too much. How did the Detroit Lions get that? The Lions at the Chiefs to open up the year. What the heck is that? I know the Lions ended on a strong note, and Dan Campbell's a huge monster of a head coach, and he's a walking soundbite. But to kick off the year, Detroit at Kansas City.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Well, yeah, coach. Don't get me wrong. I like you. But that is quite the billing for the Detroit Lions to get that spot opening night in the NFL. But it is 99 days away. We do this every year, but it's fun. You know, you go down memory lane when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, some of the prominent 99s in Jaguar franchise history. Well, Marcus Stroud is obviously the guy you think of. 99. Joel Schminge. Number 99, Joel Schminge. He's right there as well. Denmark, you probably have no idea what that means, do you?
I interned when we had the PA guy on that did it.
Oh,
so
Jacko,
I know the
yeah,
story. Yeah.
Joel Schminge, when he had a sack around here, that was a big deal. But you forget some pretty decent players. Sinderic Marks, 99 in Jaguar history. Eli Anku. Marcel Darius, 99. Not bad. Not bad. Now, some of these numbers will be very, very bare. That will do. But the number 99's been good to the Jaguars, particularly with Schminge and Marcus Stroud. And we are 99 days away from NFL opening night. I also found this interesting. 100 days, 100 facts about the NFL heading into the year. Roger Goodell, the commissioner, is entering his 18th season as the NFL commish. That's already the second longest tenured at his position in league history. 18 years for Roger Goodell coming up here in 2023. So there you go. We'll have a fact a night, some jersey number memories a night as we are 99 days away from the NFL regular season. We are less than 24 hours away from the NBA Finals. Miami and Denver. We are 72 hours away from the Stanley Cup Finals. Florida and Las Vegas. Miami represented strong with the Panthers and the Heat. WQAM Radio in Miami. My friend Kevin Rogers joins us next. Hacker After Dark on a Wednesday in Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us.
Local and live.
Live?
Live.
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 Because local and live is better.
Oh, right.
1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Ladies and gentlemen, it only happens once a year. It's always fun. It's our Memorial Weekend backlot clearance. 267 new and used vehicles in our backlot have been marked down to the max. Plus, be one of the first 10 to buy a new car and receive a free TV. But when they're gone, it's over. Sale starts Friday at 9 a.m. and ends Monday at 9 p.m. You cannot afford to miss this sale. Only at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine and Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. Don't make us come get you.
You lost your swing. We got to go find it.
It's your Saturday morning swing adjustment.
Grip it, rip it.
Get the golf tips and talk to take your game to the next level. The Edwin Watts Golf Hour. Saturday mornings at 10 on 1010XL.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control. Look, warmer weather now means mosquito, flea, and tick season is here. These pests are out for blood, but you don't have to let them win. Protect your home and family with Kingfish Pest Control. As a Kingfish customer myself, I know their products are safe for kids and pets. Plus, with a 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can relax knowing your yard is pest-free. Call today, mention the Jags to receive 10% off your initial service. That's Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
It's It's the blog players put their pads on for.
So we want it, we got to bring it. My thoughts and observations on our home team. That's what I share with you every week on my blog.
Roland Reach Plumbing brings you Hayes Blog on 1010XL.com.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y Summer Camp, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Jacksonville has some junk. J-Dog is removing it. They're here to do the dirty work. You don't want to remove and dispose of large furniture or appliances yourself? Call J-Dog. Here now proudly serving you, removing junk from your home or business. They can even handle small demolition projects, and they're still donating local items to veterans in need. So let J-Dog do the dirty work for you. J-Dog Junk Removal. Veteran-owned and operated. JDog.com.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein & Robbins, fighting for your rights since 1975.
We've been telling you for almost a year about Nathan's Family Chiropractic and the 100-Year Lifestyle Network. If chronic back or joint pain is keeping you down, don't listen to me. Listen to what Jacksonville is saying about Dr. Alan Nathan.
The stem cell treatment took the pain away.
Changed my life. It's awesome.
Your body just works better when it's aligned. We're believers.
His no-needle regenerative protocols are giving people their lives back. Get yours back, too. Go to the pro in the know. Don't do another cortisone injection. He's one of us helping all of us for the past 25 years. For more info, drnathans.com.
Oh boy, not again.
Do you feel this way every time there's rain in the forecast? Amy Salt, owner of CrossFit Salt to Tear in the Riverside area, definitely did.
I had major rain anxiety from all the water collecting outside my gym. That's why I'm so happy I reached out to Clearwater Drainage. John came out, designed a system that moved the water off of my property, and all my kettlebells are now dry. I'm sleeping so much better at night.
Clearwater Irrigation.
And drainage, too.
ClearwaterJacks.com.
There's a new butcher in town. We're talking a vacuum marinating, sausage grinding, take and bake siding, value pricing, full service butcher. And our name is Southern Steer.
Now open in Ortega. For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, what a sports year it has been in South Florida. We talked about this last week when both the Panthers and the Heat were in the conference finals. They are now both in the finals of their respective sports. The Heat get underway tomorrow night, Game 1 against the Denver Nuggets, while the Florida Panthers get underway Saturday night, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Let's go to Miami. One of our guys down there is Kevin Rogers. He's joined us for years, QAM Radio in Miami, and he's always kind enough to be with us here on 1010XL. Kevin, how you doing, man?
Ryan, very good. It's a good ride right now, the way things are going, and hopefully the Dolphins can keep it up in the fall. But at least for now, it's good to see every single night for the next few weeks we'll have championship basketball on, or championship basketball and or hockey on.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and I think Miami is becoming or trying to become the first city to have both an NHL team and an NBA team win the championship in the same sports calendar year, which again is pretty wild if you think about that, as long as those sports have been played. Let's begin with the Heat. Just an absolute gut punch in Game 6. I'm an Orlando Magic fan, so I have no love lost for Miami by any stretch of the imagination, and I even felt bad for their fans after Game 6. Everybody thought it's over. There's no way they're going to go to Boston and recover from that. Not only, Kevin, do they recover, but they take Boston behind the woodshed, man. That wasn't even a game in the second half. Were you surprised by how well they responded to that loss?
Yes. I mean, I think if anybody says they weren't, they got to be lying to you. Now, obviously, Jason Tatum getting hurt early did help the Heat because now Tatum is a shell of himself, and he can't do what he wants to do because he's basically running around on one leg. But at the same time, yes, it was a tough loss in Game 6. They were down that whole game, so just the opportunity to even be there in the end was kind of a miracle. But in Game 7, the key was, not like I'm breaking down anything crazy, but check it off to a good start, and they did. That they led after the first quarter, and they just kind of sat on the Celtics. That's all they had to do after that, that they, A, could not fall behind early, and B, even if it was tied after one, all right, the Celtics can go on a run, and then all of a sudden things kind of fall apart. That's what happened in Game 7 when the Celtics played the 76ers in the second round, where the Sixers were up in the second quarter, and then Boston went on a crazy run and ended up really pulling away. That the Heat did enough to take the lead, and Boston just was discombobulated, it felt like. And you always say you need your stars to step up in the big spots. They couldn't do that. Tatum was hurt. Jaylen Brown, he seems like he's all over the place in the series. So, look, Eric Spoelstra's done a fantastic job with this franchise and taking over for Pat Riley. And this is now for Spo his sixth finals appearance, which is pretty crazy since 2010. And the Heat, you know what? They can get swept by Denver, and it's okay as long as they didn't become the first NBA team to blow a 3-0 series lead and lose in 7 games. As long as that didn't happen, in my opinion, I think they're good from here.
Well, and you talk about that too, Kevin. I mean, the NBA regular season, it's long, it's a grind. We know that. But what happened? I mean, the Heat were in the play-in tournament. They were 1 game away from not even making the postseason. They survived Chicago. They get in as the 8, and all they've done since then is wipe the floor with Milwaukee, the 1, have very little trouble with New York, and obviously beat the 2 in Boston, including going to Boston and winning in Game 7. Did the light switch come on? I mean, can you explain what's happened in the last 2 months?
Well, number one, what a lot of people forget is this team won the Southeast Division. So this isn't like a team that won 39 games, and this is crazy that they actually had, it wasn't a great regular season, but they did enough in a not so great division to win it. And then they get in the play-in tournament where they're the 7th seed in a sense. They have the 7th best record in the East. They lose to Atlanta. Atlanta runs them at home in that first play-in game. So the Hawks got the 7. They played the Celtics in the first round, which kind of was a blessing in disguise to not face Boston early. And then, like you mentioned, they played Chicago, who came back to beat Toronto in the other play-in game because they were ready to play the Raptors. And then Chicago came back and won that game. The Bulls were up late in the fourth quarter of the second play-in game, and basically the one to get in the last playoff spot. And the Heat ended up making a run, and they beat the Bulls and then got in. That they almost were out right before that they didn't play well for really 2 play-in games, but somehow put it together at the end. And, it worked out that they faced Milwaukee, a team that they didn't have a lot of success with in the playoffs a few years ago. I know they beat them in the bubble, but Giannis was hurt, and there was also the bubble. But then Milwaukee ran them, I think, the next season. But Giannis getting hurt definitely helped for the Heat. But look, they've done this about Tyler Hero also. Tyler Hero got hurt in the first game of the Milwaukee series. So they've lost like 16, 18 points a game. They've done this whole thing without one of their top scorers. And a lot of people are forgetting that. But the Heat shot lights out in that Milwaukee series, and they matched up really well with the Knicks. The Knicks they're good. They're getting there, but they're just not they're not in part of the elite yet in the East. And then with Boston, the Heat were very fortunate to jump out to that 3-0 lead to kind of have that advantage where you had 4 shots to win 1 game. And I know it took them the 4th game of that stretch to close out the Celtics. But look, Jimmy Butler, even though he had a couple off games in the Celtics series, he's basically carried this team. And the Heat got great contributions from Caleb Martin, Max Strus, guys like that, Gabe Vincent, all of them who, these undrafted players that somehow the Heat developed. And they just found a way to put it together where these other teams just couldn't be able, they have not been able to figure it out to beat the Heat.
Kevin Rogers, QAM Radio in Miami. Kevin, final NBA thought. It gets underway tomorrow night, game 1 of the finals. It appears Denver's a different animal right now. I mean, they destroyed the Lakers. They've had very little trouble in the Western Conference playoffs. Denver really is playing up that lack of respect card because if you'll remember, all the national pundits were talking about, the Lakers and Golden State and Sacramento, and never mind Denver being the 1 seed, and they really seem to be feeding off of that. What's your early thought on the finals when they get underway tomorrow night?
A team that has done this much already, you don't want to say you want to count them out because they've already beaten Milwaukee and Boston. But at the same time, like you said, that this Denver team, this is their stage. This is their time where they swept LeBron and the Lakers in the conference finals. They took care of a Phoenix team that people thought, all right, Kevin Durant is healthy. Him and Devin Booker, they're going to put it together and make a run. And the Nuggets took care of them. And Nikola Jokic, with what he's been able to do, he's obviously not only the best player in this series, but the best player in the league right now. They have Jamal Murray, who we saw what he did in the bubble a few years ago, and he can be a dynamic scorer. Aaron Gordon, who you mentioned you're a Magic fan, that he was a cornerstone of the Magic franchise for a bit. Now he's like the third option for the Nuggets, which is good. He's another guy that Denver can rely on. Michael Porter, another good player when healthy that the Nuggets can score at will. I don't know how much the Heat will have left. And then you still got to go to Denver with the altitude for a few games as well. I got to think this is Denver's time to shine, that this is like their only opportunity, really. They've never been to the finals before, for them to finally win that championship. I really would be surprised if the Heat found a way to win this series.
Will Miami have the services of Tyler Hero at any point?
It's tough to say right now. I believe at any point, I would say yes. For game 1, I'm not sure. But as far as for sometime in the series, I don't know if they get through the first 2 and he comes back at home. But I got to believe that after all, I feel like they said 6 to 8 weeks or something, or maybe 4 to 6 weeks, something like that when he originally had the injury. And no one thought anything about it because they're thinking, all right, they're going to get eliminated by Milwaukee. It doesn't matter. He'll be ready for next season, but they're still playing. So I'm sure that now I don't know if they fast tracked it or what, but I'm sure he will come back in the series. Just don't know when.
Kevin Rogers, QAM Radio in Miami. That's the NBA side of things. Now the NHL side of things. The Florida Panthers begin the Stanley Cup Finals on Saturday night against Las Vegas. I'm not sure if the NHL purists like the fact that it's Miami and Las Vegas in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals, but yet here we are, and Florida was nothing short of dominating against Carolina. At points, it looked like Carolina didn't even belong on the same ice. That 4 overtime game, I think, took a lot out of Carolina early in the series, and Florida went on to have a relatively easy time of it. Kevin, what's your thought on Vegas and Florida? Vegas has also looked very good in this postseason.
I mean, look, this team was down. The Panthers were down 3-1 to Boston, and it felt like, all right, this is done. A disappointing season. This is how it's going to end because the high expectations after having the most points in the NHL last year, acquiring Matthew Tkachuk from Calgary, that the season was going to go down the tubes. And Matthew Tkachuk scored the game-winning goal in Game 5 at Boston, and it kind of flipped the switch for this team. They won Game 6 at home. They were up 2-0 in Game 7 in Boston. The Bruins scored 3 unanswered goals, and it looked like Boston was going to win it again. And then the Panthers tied it late and won it overtime. And it kind of felt like from there that this team has really turned it on. I mean, you look at the last 9 games, they're 8-1. Since winning 3 straight in the Boston series, they held Toronto to 2 goals in every single game. Austin Matthews didn't score a goal in that series for the Maple Leafs. John Tavares didn't score a goal for the Maple Leafs. And then Carolina, like you said, I think that 4 overtime game, I think it really was a gut punch to them. to the Carolina Hurricanes and really killed a lot of momentum for them. That whoever won that game, I mean, it'd be easy to say, obviously you're in good shape. Your game won 4 overtimes. The winner of that game is doing all right. But it felt like the Hurricanes were like gassed in that game, and the Panthers just had fresher legs. And people forget, game 2 went to overtime also. So Carolina, after all of that in the 4 overtimes, still could have won game 2 at home and made it 1-1 going back to Florida. But the Panthers won game 2. Tkachuk scored again in overtime in game 2, and then you felt like Carolina was done. But look, all 4 games were decided by a goal. So the Hurricanes were right there, but Sebastian Aho, the top player in Carolina, he didn't score a goal in that series. So the Panthers have done a great job stopping some of these big names. Sergei Bobrovsky has been amazing during this postseason run. And when you look at the Vegas Golden Knights, second Stanley Cup appearance in their short franchise history, they're a loaded team. Jonathan Marchessault played for the Panthers. He's one of their top players on Vegas. They got Jack Eichel, who was in Buffalo, who was a top pick of the draft, who he's been very good in the playoffs for the Golden Knights. Yeah, Vegas played some good teams as well. They beat Dallas in the conference final. They beat Edmonton in the second round. It's going to be tough for the Panthers. It really is. This is not, I'm not going to say impossible, but this is a tough opponent. But at the same time, though, the Panthers have beaten some good teams so far, and Vegas is in that realm of those other good teams. So it should be a very exciting series. I mean, I'm going to give you kind of the standard answer. It could go either way. Obviously, Vegas with the home ice helps, but the Panthers have won 8 straight on the road, so they're not really afraid of going out there. But the Panthers have never won at T-Mobile Arena. They're 0-4-1 in the short history, so hopefully they can kind of break through and at least maybe get one of the first 2 on the road.
Final moments here with Kevin Rogers, QAM Radio in Miami. Kevin, the sports fan down there. You've been a member of the sports media community down there for many years. I mean, what's it like? This just doesn't happen, right? That in the same metropolitan area, you got a Stanley Cup final participant and an NBA final participant. I don't know if it's ever happened. If it has, certainly it hasn't happened more than a handful of times. I mean, what's the vibe down there in South Florida going into this weekend?
I mean, everybody's excited. And you go back even to March when the Hurricanes went to the Final Four, when FAU, who like a lot of people aren't really, didn't celebrate for a long time, when they made their run to the Final Four, people kind of latched onto that just because it was more South Florida representation, even though it's Boca Raton. It's a little outside of the metro, but still, it's just exciting. It really is. And I think a lot of people understand that the Panthers have a little more of a realistic shot to win it all as opposed to the Heat. That I don't think anybody's going to be really, I don't want to say disappointed. I want to say if they lose, people will be disappointed, but shocked if the Heat lose to the Nuggets. People really won't be. Where the Panthers have a realistic shot to win the Stanley Cup against the Golden Knights. But the good news, you have starting, I guess, like next week. I don't want to say every other night because it depends on the schedule. But basically, you have in a 7-day week, like 5 nights with games with either the Heat or the Panthers playing. So there's definitely still interest. I know you said this early on when we began the conversation. It's not the Maple Leafs playing the Blackhawks or something like that. But you know what? That's for the historians. Like, let's have new teams. I look at it, as long as you have a good series, who cares who the teams are? It doesn't have to be teams in cold weather cities to appreciate it. Like, there aren't people running to see the Yankees and Dodgers playing the World Series either, So people should just appreciate it for what it is. If you're a fan of the sport, you're going to watch anyway. You're not going to care who's going to be in it. So you get some new blood, you get some different teams in there. If it's a good series, and that's all that really matters.
Kevin, leave us with this. We had you on back during the Final Four. You said at that point you thought both teams would ultimately fall short, and they did. FAU and Miami, great runs, but neither one of them got the ultimate goal. What about now? The Heat, the Panthers, do either one of these teams win their league championship?
I'm going to say the Panthers do. I really can't come around on the Heat. I just think Denver, they just played so well so far in the playoffs, and really none of the other teams. I mean, the Knicks knocked the Cavs out in 5. That was one round, and it just shows you maybe Cleveland wasn't that good. But, Boston wasn't really dominant in their first 2 rounds. But I look at Denver, and they've been really good so far. So that's where I find it hard to believe that the Heat can beat them again. But the Panthers, just the way they played, I don't see why not. That when the Panthers played the Avalanche in 1996 for the Stanley Cup, the first and only time they'd been there, Colorado had Hall of Famers. I mean, that team, there was a big talent gap with those two teams, and the Panthers got swept in that series. I don't think the talent gap is that wide. I think that both these teams are pretty even, and I don't see why the Panthers, especially with the road record, they've had a lot of, 6-0 in overtime is pretty good. I don't know if that could stay put if this game went to overtime in the series. I just got to believe that they have the confidence that they can go out there and they can win this series.
I had the John Van Beesbrook poster on my wall in 1996. I was all in. I'll certainly be rooting for the Panthers come Saturday night, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And tomorrow night, less than 24 hours from now, it'll be Game 1 of the NBA Finals with the Heat and the Denver Nuggets. Kevin Rogers is our guy in Miami QAM Radio. Kevin, know you're busy, man. Really appreciate the time. We'll talk again soon.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
And thank you to Kevin Rogers, WQAM Radio in Miami, for joining us tonight. Inside of 24 hours till the NBA Finals Game 1, Miami and Denver. And then, of course, on Saturday night, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals with the Florida Panthers and the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Again, the city of Miami, the South Florida area, looking to become the first metropolitan area to ever have a Stanley Cup champion and an NBA champion in the same calendar year. Will be very interesting to see what happens. Both probably are the big underdogs, right? Both have to start on the road. The Heat, obviously a big underdog to the Denver Nuggets. The Florida Panthers, an underdog to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Although, even though both were 8 seeds in their respective postseasons, both are still playing in the finals. So certainly they've been the underdog in the past, and that has not seemed